this issue of sponsorship, or are we supposed to tackle head on the issue of insecurity, knowing full well that they will have bandits and they have some kind of numerical strength, and there are too many, and they're operating from every other thick forest in northern part of Nigeria, right? And so, with respect to the incident that happened, what do you think that may have given them the audacity, to take to what they did? It was supposed to using an explosive, to derail a train and attack the train as well.
In simple terms, they exploited from the mistakes that they may have made in that last incident and improved on that mistake, which led them to the success that they achieved. Now come back to us as Nigerians. And by us, I mean the security agencies. Did we learn from that experience? Did we put in place measures to ensure that there is no reoccurrence? And unfortunately, that is where the gap exists. And that is why I am advocating that first and foremost, an investigation be conducted, both into the last incident and then this current incident. We've had the Minister of Transportation saying that he submitted, a proposal for approval of 3 billion naira for a solution that could have detected if anybody touches the rail track. Now, that is just one component of it. I'm aware that there are several security agencies that are usually deployed on top, inside the train. Now, an investigation would reveal, were they there on that train? Then who has responsibility for the protection of the rail line in terms of the human deployment? And then more importantly, and I've been on this program after the first incident, where I advocated that we should incorporate the communities around the rail line into the security infrastructure. I make bold to say, and this is really to the Minister of Transportation, that solution would be good, but it's not enough, especially if you consider the challenges within the Nigerian environment. Power is a challenge. A young boy can go and tamper with that solution, and we know that that's already happening. Will be to incorporate the communities surrounding the rail line into the security architecture. If they don't know how to do that, several of us are happy to support them. This is something that you are doing for your nation. So in summary, there are 27 ministries, departments and agencies in security in Nigeria. We need to bring these 27 together and ask them in clear terms, what are you contributing to national security? The ungoverned spaces you mentioned, there are departments in government that every year they submit a budget. And what are they doing to ensure that these bandits don't continue to hibernate in that forest? If we continue the way I see us doing, I'm very worried as a security practitioner. The evidence that we need to ensure the prosecution of whoever is behind the attack is being destroyed by the footage that I am seeing on TV. How many people have entered that train after the incident? I haven't seen that train cordoned off. So that the forensic evidence that we should now have gathered and kept, eventually and I hope this is what will happen, we will identify who was behind that attack. That forensic evidence is what you need for the prosecution. That is not happening.
Well, Dr. Kabir, we understand that yesterday the security personnel were at the location, and that they, of course, cordoned off the area. I imagine. I didn't get that in the report.
I didn't see that, unfortunately.
Okay, I didn't know what I'm about to say. I imagine that perhaps they were also picking up the shrapnel from the IEDs to then follow up with their ballistic examination. Well, I know you've always referenced the number of government MDAs that have one thing or the other to do with security. And the response of the military was commendable. We've spoken about that already. I mean, having to get up at night, they walk around the clock, by the way. But the question has also arisen. Is it that, if you recall, sometime in the past, when it was the commonest criminality, if somebody was attacked by armed robbers, they would say it is armed robbery, as though armed robbery were a legitimate business. I hope we've not now said, look, it's insecurity. is insecurity. I'm raising this against the backdrop of the number of MDAs we have identified. The entire country is fully covered. All 774 local government areas. You have the presence of any and or if not most of these establishments. If you have a presence, it means that you have a human being who is in charge, who has that jurisdiction. You also have communities where these incidents are located. It appears not just the train incident, because before now you were having reports of whole villages that have been sacked, whether in Kaduna, Zamfara, Katsina, Benue, Enugu, parts of Edo, Niger State. They just sacked them. I would say it's insecurity. Insecurity appears now to have become a label to describe it, but there is responsibility. Who dropped the ball?
In simple terms, in these 27 ministries, departments, and agencies, there are coordinating elements among them. Now, in clear terms, those coordinating elements are responsible for this. And frankly, I would have expected that immediately after this incident, those coordinating elements would gather together, have a meeting, and then do an in-house investigation and find out who is responsible. And I'm not in any way not apportioning blames to the railway corporation. You are a journalist, and I would urge you to invite the MD. Let him tell Nigerians what security arrangement he has within the railway corporation. How strong is that department? Is the person heading that department, was he given that appointment on the basis of merit? What measures has he taken for an in-house security arrangement that would lead to better security within the NRC? Now, I'm not in any way absolving the NRC of responsibility, but security starts with them in-house. That department should be strong enough, capable of providing protection. And so the levels of responsibility, and because that's the word, accountability and responsibility, should start from the NRC up to, in fact, the person who is in charge of that particular department, in which case the Minister of Transportation, and we can go all the way up. But my point, and that's the point I made earlier on, we can't continue accepting this type of failures. There must be accountability. When human lives, at the last count, we are told 9 persons, at least their corpses were found.
Eight officially, we understand.
What really should come to mind of many Nigerians, in this connection, is are we properly policed as a nation? You have mentioned MDAs that have one or two things to do with security, but what is the strength, the personnel strength, in terms of numbers, to be able to cover the ungoverned space that we're talking about?
Kieran, I have a different approach to this. I have to talk of utilization. Mm-hmm. You and I are aware that if one VIP visits your station today, it's probably going to come with nothing less than 20 security personnel. So by the time you count the number of the VIPs and then multiply this 20, so how are you going to convince me that we're short-staffed of security personnel? So it's a matter of utilization as well as management of the resources that you have at your disposal. If you add all of these 27 together, at least 9 of them have policing responsibilities. In other countries, if I pick a country like, let me use Germany as an example, these 9 that we have in Nigeria are subsumed under one, which is called the police. So as an example, you have the police itself, you have road safety, you have civil defense, you have to an extent immigration. In other countries, all of these are subsumed under one. So bring all of this together and then see their numbers and then remove this number of persons that are associated with VIPs. And then how are you going to convince me that they're short-staffed?
Okay, now I'm sure you had Dr. Kabiru Adamu, Brigadier General Kabiru Galadanchi. I hope you just had in all the security departments that we have in the country. Do you think that there is need for state police, for instance, to be able to have enough personnel to man the ungoverned spaces we have in the country that are, providing succor for these elements who have decided to govern themselves in those areas and, of course, unleash mayhem, from there. And as a security personnel, do you think that something has to happen in the security architecture of the country? Do we need some level of adjustment or a strategy, to be able to face these elements, who have started to unleash mayhem in almost every part of this country?
Thank you so much. My namesake, Dr. Kabir, has said a lot about security deployment, security aspect. But sincerely, my concern about most of our discourse is more to do with the way we look at issues. I'm digressing. They affect everybody, everywhere in the north, this and that, even some places in the south. What I'm saying is that when we are making a national discourse, we should not be thinking about incidences one after the other. We should be thinking holistically about the issues, because you are trying to protect this side. The other side is being exposed, this and that. So I want us, whenever we are discussing